Maya always knew she was different from her sister. While Aisha loved the spotlight, Maya preferred the quiet corners of libraries. While Aisha chased big dreams in faraway cities, Maya found joy in teaching children their ABCs. It never bothered her much. She was happy being the simple one, the predictable one. But everything changed the day her father collapsed. It happened on a Tuesday morning. One moment he was drinking his tea, complaining about the newspaper prices going up again. The next moment he was on the floor gasping for air. The ambulance ride felt like a nightmare that wouldn't end. At the hospital, doctors threw around words like surgery and complications and expensive procedures. Maya's mother aged 10 years in a single afternoon. The bills started piling up faster than Maya could count. Her teacher's salary barely covered their monthly groceries. Her younger brother was still in college, living on hope and instant noodles. And Aisha? She was somewhere abroad, her phone going straight to voicemail every single time Maya called. 3 weeks passed. The doctor said her father needed surgery urgently, but the cost made Maya's head spin. Her mother sold her gold bangles, the ones she'd saved for Maya's wedding. Their neighbors helped with whatever they could spare. Still, it wasn't enough, not even close. Maya found herself doing something she never thought she'd do. She went through her sister's old room, searching for anything valuable they could sell. Aisha had always been secretive, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The room smelled like Aisha's expensive perfume, even though she hadn't been home in over a year. Maya opened drawers carefully, feeling like an intruder in her own house. Old clothes, makeup, books she'd never finished reading. Nothing useful. She was about to give up when she noticed a loose floorboard under the rug. Her heart raced as she pried it open. Inside was a small metal box, the kind you'd use for precious things. Maya hesitated. This felt wrong. But her father's face, pale and tired in that hospital bed, flashed through her mind. She opened it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them, tied with a red ribbon like something out of an old movie. Maya's hands shook as she untied the ribbon and began reading. With each word, her world tilted a little more off its axis. The letters were from Rashid. She remembered him vaguely from a family gathering years ago. Tall, quiet, always polite. His family and theirs had been close for generations. His father and her father had been business partners once, before her father's company struggled. But these weren't just friendly letters. They were love letters. Well, sort of. They talked about promises and futures and families coming together. About an engagement that had been kept secret, waiting for the right time to announce it publicly. Maya's hands trembled as she read through them, one after another. The dates went back almost 2 years. How had Aisha hidden this from everyone? Maya thought about all those video calls where Aisha seemed distracted, always cutting conversations short. All those times she said she was too busy to come home for festivals. Then Maya found the most recent letter. It wasn't from Rashid. It was from Aisha to Rashid, unsent, dated just 5 weeks ago. Her sister's handwriting was rushed, almost frantic. Maya had to read it 3 times before the words truly sank in. Aisha had met someone else. Someone exciting and spontaneous and completely different from Rashid. She was breaking off the engagement. She couldn't go through with a marriage her family had basically arranged. She wanted to live her own life, make her own choices. The letter ended with a line that made Maya feel sick. I'm sorry, but I can't sacrifice my happiness for family expectations. You'll understand someday. Maya sat on the floor, surrounded by letters and secrets, trying to process everything. Aisha had run away from her responsibilities. She'd left Rashid without even telling him properly. And worst of all, she'd abandoned their family right when they needed her most. The next part of the letter explained why Maya's blood ran cold. Rashid's family was supposed to visit in 2 weeks to finalize wedding arrangements. They didn't know the engagement was off. Nobody knew except Aisha, and she'd made herself unreachable. Maya grabbed her phone and tried calling Aisha again. Nothing. She sent text messages, each one more urgent than the last. She even tried social media, but Aisha's accounts had gone silent weeks ago. That evening, Maya showed the letters to her mother. She watched her mother's face crumble, watched years of pride and hope drain away. Her mother cried quietly, the kind of crying that's somehow worse than loud sobs, the kind that comes from deep disappointment. What will we tell them? Her mother whispered. Rashid's family has been so kind to us. His father even offered to help with the surgery cost when he heard about your father's illness. Maya's stomach dropped. She hadn't known that. Rashid's father had offered help because he thought their families would soon be united through marriage, because he believed Aisha would be his daughter-in-law. If they find out Aisha rejected Rashid and ran away, they'll be humiliated, her mother continued. They'll think we used them, tricked them. Your father's heart won't survive this shame on top of everything else. Maya wanted to argue, to say that Aisha's choices shouldn't affect the whole family, but she knew better. In their community, family honor meant everything. A broken engagement wasn't just Aisha's problem. It was everyone's problem. The next few days were torture. Maya went through the motions of teaching her class, but her mind was elsewhere. At night she lay awake, trying to find a solution that didn't exist. She called Aisha's number so many times she lost count. Always the same result. Voicemail. Then, exactly as the letters predicted, Rashid's family called to confirm their visit. They sounded happy, excited even. They talked about wedding preparations and auspicious dates. Maya's mother made excuses, saying Aisha was dealing with some work issues but would definitely be there soon. The lies were piling up, getting heavier each day. Maya's uncle visited the night before Rashid's family was supposed to arrive. He was her father's younger brother, practical and straightforward. He'd heard about the situation from Maya's mother. What he proposed made Maya's world stop spinning entirely. There's only one way to fix this mess, he said, looking directly at Maya. You take Aisha's place. Maya laughed. It was absurd. Completely insane. But her uncle wasn't joking. I'm serious. You marry Rashid, save the family honor, save your father's life. What's the alternative? Watch everything fall apart? Watch your father die from the stress? That's crazy, Maya said, her voice rising. You can't just swap sisters like changing clothes. That's not how life works. But even as she said it, she knew her uncle was right about one thing. They were out of options. Aisha had left them drowning, and Maya was the only one who could throw them a lifeline. She just never imagined the lifeline would be a wedding ring she never asked for, binding her to a man she barely knew, in a marriage that felt like signing away her entire future. That night Maya didn't sleep at all. She stared at the ceiling, thinking about choices and sacrifices and the weight of family. By morning, she still didn't have an answer. But time was running out, and soon she'd have to make a decision that would change everything. Rashid's family arrived at noon, right on schedule. Maya watched from the kitchen window as 3 cars pulled up to their modest home. Her mother had cleaned the house until everything sparkled, trying to hide the cracks in the walls and the desperation in their lives. Maya's heart hammered in her chest. She'd barely slept in 3 days, running through every possible scenario in her mind. Maybe Aisha would magically appear at the last minute. Maybe Rashid's family would postpone the visit. Maybe the earth would open up and swallow her whole. None of those things happened. Instead, Rashid's mother walked in with a warm smile, carrying boxes of sweets and gifts. His father followed, dignified and kind-faced. His aunt, his cousin, even his grandmother had come. They all looked so happy, so excited about uniting their families. Maya felt like she might throw up. Where's our beautiful bride? Rashid's mother asked, looking around eagerly. The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. Maya's mother opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. No words came out. The panic in her eyes was painful to watch. She's not feeling well. Maya's uncle jumped in smoothly. She asked Maya to receive you all first. She'll join us shortly, more lies. Maya hated how easily they flowed now, how quickly desperation had turned them all into liars. They sat in the living room making small talk about weather and traffic. Maya served tea with shaking hands, trying to be invisible. But Rashid's mother kept looking at her with curious, kind eyes. You've grown up so much, Maya, she said warmly. I remember when you were just a little girl, always carrying books everywhere. Rashid mentioned you're a teacher now? Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. When had Rashid talked about her? They'd barely exchanged 10 words in their entire lives. That's wonderful. Education is so important, Rashid's mother continued. Then, lowering her voice, she added, I have to tell you all something. There's been an accident. The room went still. Maya's mother gripped her teacup so hard her knuckles turned white. Rashid was in a car accident 4 days ago. A truck ran a red light. He's alive, thank God, but he's in the hospital. Rashid's mother's voice cracked slightly. The doctors had to put him in a medically induced coma to help his brain heal. They say he'll recover, but it might take a few weeks. Maya's first feeling was relief. If Rashid was unconscious, he couldn't meet Aisha. The wedding would have to be postponed. They'd have more time to figure things out, to find Aisha, to fix this mess. But then Rashid's father spoke, and that relief evaporated like morning mist. We know this is terrible timing, but we need to proceed with the wedding ceremony as soon as possible. For legal reasons. Everyone stared at him. Maya's uncle leaned forward. I don't understand. How can there be a wedding if Rashid is unconscious? Rashid's father looked uncomfortable. He glanced at his wife, who nodded encouragingly. Our family business is complicated. Rashid is the sole heir. If something happens to him while he's unmarried, the inheritance laws become messy. Distant relatives could make claims. Legal battles could destroy everything we've built. But he's going to recover, Maya's mother said weakly. We pray he will. The doctors are optimistic, but we can't take chances. We need the marriage to be legally registered now. The ceremony can be simple, just the religious formalities and paperwork. When Rashid recovers, we'll have a proper celebration. Maya felt dizzy. They wanted to marry Aisha to an unconscious man. How was that even possible? It's allowed in our tradition, Rashid's aunt explained, seeing their confusion. In cases of emergency, if the groom cannot be present, the ceremony can proceed with witnesses and the bride's consent. It's unusual, but it's valid. Maya's mother looked like she might faint. Her uncle's face had gone pale. The walls seemed to be closing in. Of course we understand this is sudden, Rashid's father continued. We're asking a lot, but our families have been close for generations. We trust each other, and we're prepared to help with your husband's medical expenses. All of them. Consider it a wedding gift. There it was, the lifeline and the trap, wrapped together in one neat package. After they left, promising to return. The next day for an answer, Maya's house erupted into chaos. Her mother cried. Her uncle paced. Her younger brother, home from college, looked shocked and confused. We can't do this, Maya said, her voice shaking. This is insane. We have to tell them the truth. The truth will kill your father, her uncle said bluntly. The shame, the stress, the broken relationship with Rashid's family. And who'll pay for his surgery then? You, with your teacher's salary? Aisha should face the consequences of her own choices, Maya shot back. But she's not here, is she? She ran away and left you all holding the bag. Life isn't fair, Maya. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices we never wanted to make. Maya's mother wiped her tears. Maybe we can explain to Rashid's family. Surely they'll understand. These things happen. Her uncle shook his head. You think they'll understand that Aisha dumped their son and ran off with someone else? They'll be humiliated. Their pride will be wounded. And trust me, wounded pride is dangerous. They could ruin what's left of your husband's business connections. They could spread rumors. In our community, reputation is everything. So what are you suggesting? Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. She'd known since last night when her uncle first planted the poisonous seed. He looked at her directly. You're both daughters of the same family. To them, in this emergency situation, one sister can substitute for another. They need a bride for legal purposes. You can be that bride. That's fraud, Maya whispered. That's survival, her uncle corrected. Look, Rashid is unconscious. When he wakes up, you can explain everything. You can get it annulled or divorced quietly. But right now, this marriage solves everyone's problems. It saves your family's honor. It gets your father's surgery paid for. It gives Rashid's family the legal protection they need. And what about what I want? Maya's voice broke. What about my life, my future? I never asked for any of this. Her mother came and held her hands. They were cold and trembling. I know, baby, I know this is unfair. If there was any other way, I would take it, but your father is dying. We're drowning in debt. And Aisha left us with no good choices. Maya pulled her hands away and walked to her room. She locked the door and lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Outside, she could hear her family arguing in hushed, urgent voices. Her phone buzzed. Another text to Aisha with no response. She thought about her dreams. Small dreams, really. She'd wanted to do a master's degree someday. Maybe travel a bit. Find someone who made her laugh and build a simple, honest life together. Nothing dramatic. Nothing complicated. Now those dreams felt like they belonged to someone else. Some other, Maya, who lived in a world where sisters didn't abandon their families, and where unconscious strangers didn't need emergency brides. She cried quietly into her pillow. Not loud, sobbing cries, but the kind that came from deep inside, from a place that knew something precious was being taken away. By evening, Maya had made her decision, not because she wanted to, not because it was right, but because sometimes life corners you, and the only way out is through a door you never wanted to open. She walked into the living room where her family waited. Her mother looked up hopefully. Her uncle stood with his arms crossed. Her brother couldn't meet her eyes. "I'll do it," Maya said quietly. "I'll marry Rashid. But this is temporary. When he wakes up, I tell him everything. And then we end this properly." Her mother started crying again, this time with relief. Her uncle nodded approvingly, already planning the details. Maya felt numb. She'd just agreed to marry a man she didn't know, who didn't know he was marrying her, in a ceremony that felt more like a business transaction than a wedding. She went to bed that night as Maya the teacher, the simple sister, the girl with small dreams. Tomorrow she'd wake up and start becoming someone else entirely. Tomorrow she'd put on a wedding dress and sign papers that would tie her to a stranger. And somewhere out there, Aisha was probably laughing and dancing and living her free, uncomplicated life, completely unaware that her younger sister was sacrificing everything to clean up the mess she'd left behind. The morning of the wedding, Maya woke up feeling like she was trapped in someone else's nightmare. Her mother had laid out Aisha's bridal outfit on her bed, a beautiful deep red dress with gold embroidery, bought months ago for a wedding that was supposed to be completely different. Maya touched the fabric. It was soft and expensive, everything Aisha always wanted. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was wearing her sister's dress to marry her sister's fiancé while pretending to be someone she wasn't. Her hands shook so badly that her mother had to help her get dressed. Every time she looked in the mirror, she saw a stranger. The makeup felt heavy on her face. The jewelry felt like chains. She looked beautiful and miserable at the same time. "You don't have to do this," her younger brother said quietly from the doorway. "We'll figure something else out." Maya gave him a sad smile. "We both know there is nothing else." The ceremony was held at the hospital in a small private room they'd arranged. It felt cold and clinical, nothing like the weddings Maya had imagined as a little girl. No music, no dancing, no joy. Just witnesses and paperwork and prayers that felt hollow. Rashid lay in the hospital bed, tubes and monitors connected to him. He looked peaceful, like he was just sleeping. Maya wondered what he was dreaming about. Did he know his life was about to change? That he was getting married to the wrong sister? The religious officiant looked uncomfortable. He'd clearly never done anything like this before. He kept glancing at Rashid, then at Maya, then at the families gathered around. "This is highly unusual," he said quietly to Rashid's father. "But it's permissible, correct? In emergency circumstances?" The officiant nodded slowly. "Yes, technically, if the bride consents and there are proper witnesses." Rashid's mother came and squeezed Maya's hand. "Thank you for doing this, dear. You're saving our family from so much trouble. When Rashid wakes up, he'll understand." Maya wanted to laugh or scream. Instead, she just nodded. The ceremony began. Maya heard the words as if from far away. She was asked if she consented to the marriage. Her mouth felt dry. This was her last chance to run, to tell the truth, to stop this madness. She thought about her father in another wing of this same hospital, waiting for surgery. She thought about her mother's tears and her family's desperate situation. She thought about Aisha, wherever she was, free and unburdened. "I consent," Maya whispered. The words felt like a trap snapping shut. She signed papers. So many papers. her hand cramped from writing her name over and over. Marriage certificate, legal documents, hospital forms. Each signature felt like she was erasing a piece of herself. Some of Rashid's relatives whispered among themselves. They knew something was off. The bride was too quiet, too different from the vibrant Aisha they'd met before. But no one said anything directly. Family honor was being preserved, and that's what mattered. When it was over, Rashid's mother hugged her. "Welcome to the family, my daughter." Maya felt like she might shatter into a million pieces. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of her life. She lived in limbo, not quite married, but legally bound. She continued teaching her classes during the day, coming home to her own family's house at night. Rashid's family didn't pressure her to move in with them, understanding the unusual circumstances. But she visited the hospital every other day. It felt like the right thing to do, even though everything about the situation was wrong. She'd sit in the corner of Rashid's room while his mother talked to him, played his favorite music, read him news articles. "Doctors say talking to coma patients helps," his mother explained. "Even if they can't respond, they might hear us." Maya wondered what would happen if Rashid could hear. Would he be angry, confused, horrified that he'd been married off while unconscious? She studied his face during those visits. He had a strong jawline and thick eyebrows. There was a scar above his left eye, probably from the accident. He looked like someone who'd be serious, maybe a bit stern. Nothing like Maya's gentle, quiet personality. On the 18th day, something changed. Rashid's fingers twitched. Then his eyes moved beneath his closed eyelids. The doctors became more active, checking monitors, taking notes, looking cautiously optimistic. "He's coming out of it," the doctor told his family. "Should be fully conscious within a day or two." Maya's heart dropped into her stomach. She'd been dreading this moment and waiting for it at the same time. Soon everything would come crashing down. The truth would emerge, and she'd have to face the consequences of the lie she'd been living. That night she wrote a letter. Pages and pages explaining everything. About Aisha's disappearance, about the desperate situation, about the choice that wasn't really a choice. She planned to give it to Rashid as soon as he woke up, before anyone else could tell him their version of events. But life had other plans. The next morning, Maya was teaching her second-grade class when her phone buzzed. A text from Rashid's mother. "He's awake. Come to the hospital." Maya's hands went cold. She made some excuse to her principal and rushed to the hospital, the letter clutched in her bag. This was it, the moment of truth. When she arrived, Rashid's room was full of family members. Everyone was crying happy tears, thanking God, celebrating. Rashid was sitting up, looking tired and confused, but very much alive and conscious. His mother saw Maya and pulled her forward. "Look, son, your wife is here." Rashid looked at Maya, really looked at her. She held her breath, waiting for recognition, for confusion, for anger. But his eyes were foggy and uncertain. He squinted at her like he was trying to remember something just out of reach. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough from weeks of not speaking. "I'm having trouble with some memories. The doctor said it's normal, that things will come back gradually." Maya's heart pounded. He didn't remember. He didn't remember Aisha or the engagement or what his fiancé actually looked like. His mother jumped in quickly. "Don't worry, darling. Everything will come back to you. Right now, just rest and recover. Your wife will visit you every day." Rashid nodded slowly, still looking at Maya with that puzzled expression. "We're married?" "Yes," his mother answered before Maya could speak. "You had an accident right before the wedding, so we had to do a simple ceremony. We'll have a proper celebration once you're fully recovered." It wasn't exactly a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. Maya opened her mouth to explain, to give him the letter, to clear everything up right now. But then Rashid's father stepped in. "Son, you need to rest. The doctors say you shouldn't have too much stimulation at once. Let's take things slowly," everyone agreed. They ushered Maya out, promising she could visit properly tomorrow. She left the hospital in a daze, the letter still in her bag, undelivered. Days passed. Every time Maya visited, she planned to tell Rashid everything. But there was always someone else in the room. His mother, his aunt, his cousins. Never a private moment. And even when they were alone for a few minutes, Rashid looked so tired, so overwhelmed that she couldn't bring herself to drop another bomb on him. His memory was returning in pieces. He remembered his childhood, his college days, his work. But there were gaps, especially in the recent months. The engagement, Aisha. Those memories remained fuzzy and incomplete. Rashid's doctor explained to the family that the brain was tricky. Some memories might return fully, some partially, and some might never come back at all. Stress and overwhelming information could actually slow recovery. So Maya stayed quiet. Days turned into a week. The secret grew heavier with each passing day. Meanwhile, Rashid started asking questions. Simple ones at first.
How did they meet?
How long had they known each other? What was their story? His family told him the surface details, carefully edited. Maya mostly stayed silent, letting others weave the narrative. She felt like she was sinking deeper into quicksand, each lie pulling her further down. Then, one afternoon, Maya was alone in Rashid's hospital room, while his mother went to handle discharge paperwork. He was being released the next day, cleared to go home and continue recovery there. Rashid looked at Maya, really looked at her, for the first time without others around. "Can I ask you something?" he said softly. Maya's throat went dry. "Of course. Why do you always look so sad? Every time you visit, you look like you're carrying the weight of the world." "Is it because of me? Because of the accident?" Maya felt tears prick her eyes. This was her chance. She could tell him everything right now. End this nightmare with the truth. But before she could speak, his mother returned with a nurse chattering about discharge instructions and home care. The moment passed. That night, Maya finally heard from Aisha. A single text after weeks of silence. "Heard about Dad's surgery. Glad he's okay. I'm in Europe now. Starting fresh. Don't try to contact me again." Maya stared at the message for a long time. Her sister had no idea what she'd done. No idea what Maya had sacrificed. And clearly she didn't care enough to find out. Maya deleted the message and made a decision. She'd tell Rashid the truth once he was fully recovered and settled at home. She'd find the right moment, the right words. She'd fix this mess properly. But deep down she knew that with every day that passed, with every interaction, with every lie of omission, the truth was becoming harder to tell, and the consequences would only get worse. Rashid came home from the hospital on a Thursday. Maya wasn't there for his homecoming. She told his family she had important work at school, but the truth was simpler. She was a coward. Every day that passed made the lie bigger, and she didn't know how to face him anymore. Her father's surgery had gone well, thanks to the money from Rashid's family. He was recovering slowly, asking questions about why Rashid's family had been so generous. Maya's mother fed him careful half-truths. The stress of the full story could set back his recovery, the doctors had warned. So Maya lived in her strange bubble. Legally married but living at home, a wife who'd never lived with her husband. She went to work, came home, and avoided thinking about the disaster waiting to explode. Then Rashid started calling her. The first call came on a Sunday evening. Maya stared at her phone, watching it ring, her heart racing. She let it go to voicemail. He didn't leave a message. He called again the next day. And the day after that, short, simple calls that Maya couldn't bring herself to answer. What would she even say? "Hi, husband, I barely know who thinks he married someone else." Finally, Rashid's mother called instead. "Maya, dear, Rashid wants to see you. He's asking why you haven't visited since he came home." He's confused and a bit hurt. Guilt crashed over Maya like a wave. Whatever mess this was, Rashid was innocent. He didn't deserve to be ignored and confused. "I'll come tomorrow," Maya promised. That night she barely slept. She rehearsed a dozen different ways to tell him the truth. Each version sounded worse than the last. By morning, she still had no plan, just a stomach full of nervous energy and dread. Rashid's house was bigger than she'd expected. Not mansion-level wealth, but comfortable and spacious. His mother welcomed her warmly and led her to a sitting room where Rashid was reading a book. He looked better than at the hospital. The color had returned to his face and he'd shaved. He looked up when Maya entered and something flickered in his eyes. Recognition? Confusion? She couldn't tell. "Hi," he said simply. "You've been avoiding me." Maya's carefully prepared words vanished. "I'm sorry. I've been dealing with my father's recovery and work got busy and—" "It's okay," Rashid interrupted gently. "I understand this must be weird for you too. Getting married under such strange circumstances. I wish I could remember more about us, about how we got here." His kindness made everything worse. Maya felt like the world's biggest fraud. They talked for an hour. Careful surface-level conversation. Rashid told her about his business, about his physiotherapy sessions, about the gaps in his memory that frustrated him. Maya listened and shared tiny, safe details about her teaching job. It almost felt normal, like two strangers getting to know each other on a first date. Except they were married. Legally, permanently married. As Maya was leaving, Rashid walked her to the door. "Can I ask you something?" Maya's chest tightened. "Sure. In my study, I found some old photos. Family gatherings from a few years ago. You're in them, but there's another girl too. She looks a bit like you, but different. Taller, more confident in the photos. Who is she?" Maya's blood went cold. "That's my sister, Aisha." "Aisha," Rashid repeated slowly like he was testing the name. "That name feels familiar. Was she at our wedding?" "No," Maya said quickly. Too quickly. She was abroad. Couldn't make it. Rashid nodded, but his eyes held questions. "It's strange. When I look at those old photos, I feel like I knew her, but I can't remember how or why. My doctor says these feelings are normal, that memories are trying to resurface." Maya felt sick. This was it. His memories were coming back. Soon he'd remember everything and her world would fall apart. She rushed home and immediately tried calling Aisha again. For once her sister actually answered. "What do you want, Maya?" Aisha sounded annoyed, like Maya was bothering her. "You need to come home. Right now. This has gotten out of control." "What are you talking about?" Maya told her everything. The wedding, Rashid's accident, the memory loss, all of it. The silence on the other end stretched so long that Maya thought the call had dropped. Then Aisha laughed. Actually laughed. "You married Rashid?" "Little Maya? Oh, this is too much." "This isn't funny, Aisha. You left me to deal with your mess. Do you have any idea what I've been through?" "I didn't ask you to marry him," Aisha shot back. "That was your choice. And honestly, maybe it's better this way. You always loved playing the hero, the good daughter. Now you get to be the perfect wife, too. I did this to save our family, to pay for Dad's surgery, because you abandoned us." "I freed myself," Aisha corrected coldly. "I refused to live a life others chose for me. If you want to be trapped in my old cage, that's your problem." Rashid's memory is coming back. "He's asking about you." "What am I supposed to tell him?" Another pause. Then Aisha said something that changed everything. "Tell him the truth. Tell him I never loved him. Tell him the engagement was always about what our families wanted, never about what I wanted. Tell him he's better off with you. Better off with a lie. Better off with someone who actually cares about duty and family. Those things matter to him, Maya. They mattered to me too once. But I chose differently, and I'm not sorry." Maya heard noise in the background of Aisha's call. Music, laughter, other voices. Her sister was at a party somewhere, living her free and easy life while Maya drowned in the consequences. "Are you at least planning to come home? To explain things to Rashid yourself?" "No," Aisha said flatly. "I'm not coming back. Not for this, not for anything. I've moved on and you should too. Make peace with your choice, Maya, or don't. Either way, I'm done." The call ended. Maya sat staring at her phone, tears streaming down her face. Her sister really wasn't coming back. There would be no last-minute rescue, no shared responsibility. Maya was completely alone in this mess. The next day, something happened that made everything infinitely worse. Maya was at school when her mother called, panicked. "Rashid is here. At our house. He found something." Maya's heart stopped. "Found what?" "The letters." Aisha's letters. "The box from her room. I don't know how, but he has them." Maya ran. She actually ran out of school, caught a taxi and sped home with her heart pounding in her ears. This was it. The truth was out. Everything was about to explode. When she burst through the door, she found Rashid sitting on their couch, the box of letters open in front of him. Her mother stood in the corner, wringing her hands. Her uncle was there too, looking pale. Rashid looked up at Maya. His face was calm, but his eyes held something sharp and knowing. "We need to talk." Maya's legs felt weak. She sat down across from him. "How did you get those?" "My mother mentioned that your family had stored some old furniture in our warehouse years ago. I went looking for something else and found a box with our family name on it. Inside was this." He gestured to the letters. Imagine my surprise when I started reading love letters supposedly from me to my wife, but addressed to someone named Aisha. Silence filled the room like water filling a sinking ship. Then I found this one. He held up the letter. Aisha's final letter breaking off the engagement. Written just weeks before our wedding. "Explain this to me, Maya. Explain why I have letters to a different woman. Explain why everyone has been acting so strange. Explain why you look terrified every time I try to remember our past. Maya couldn't speak. The words were trapped in her throat, choking her. Rashid's voice rose slightly, the first hint of anger breaking through. Who did I marry, Maya? Did I marry you? Or was I supposed to marry your sister? Her mother started crying. Her uncle stepped forward. Let me explain. No. Rashid cut him off, his eyes never leaving Maya. I want to hear it from her, from my wife. I want the truth. Maya looked at him, at his hurt and confused expression, at the letters scattered between them like evidence at a crime scene. This was the moment she'd been dreading for weeks, the moment where everything fell apart. You were engaged to Aisha, Maya whispered. Not to me. Never to me. The words hung in the air. Rashid's face went through a dozen emotions in seconds. Confusion, realization, shock, betrayal. Then why? He asked quietly. Why am I married to you? Maya took a deep breath and started talking. She told him everything. Aisha's disappearance, her father's illness, the impossible situation, the desperate choice. She didn't make excuses or try to justify it. She just laid out the truth in all its messy, complicated reality. When she finished, Rashid sat very still. The silence was deafening. Finally, he stood up. I need to leave. I need to think. Rashid, please, Maya started. No, he said firmly. You've had weeks to tell me the truth. Weeks while I was confused and vulnerable, trying to piece together memories that didn't exist. You let me believe a lie. You, your family, everyone. So now I need time. He walked to the door, then turned back. I trusted you. Even when things felt off, even when I couldn't remember. I trusted that you were being honest with me. That was foolish. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. 3 days passed without a word from Rashid. 3 days that felt like 3 years. Maya went through the motions of living, teaching her classes like a robot, barely sleeping, barely eating. Her mother tried to comfort her, but what comfort was there? They'd all participated in the lie, and now they were all paying the price. On the 4th day, Maya received a text. Short and simple, can we meet? Just the two of us. The coffee shop near the park. 3 p.m. Maya arrived 15 minutes early, her hands shaking so badly she had to sit on them. When Rashid walked in, he looked tired, like he hadn't slept much either. He sat down across from her and ordered 2 coffees without asking what she wanted. He remembered she took it with milk and 1 sugar. Such a small detail, but it made Maya's chest ache. They sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop buzzed with afternoon chatter around them, people living normal lives with normal problems. I've been thinking a lot, Rashid finally said. About everything you told me. About Aisha, about your family's situation, about the choices you made. Maya braced herself. Here it came. The anger, the demand for divorce, the end of this disaster. And I think I understand why you did it. Maya's head snapped up. What? Rashid took a sip of his coffee. Don't get me wrong. I'm angry. I'm hurt. You lied to me for weeks while I was vulnerable and confused. That's not something I can just brush off. I know. I'm so sorry. He held up a hand. Let me finish. I'm angry, yes. But I've also been trying to remember Aisha. Really remember her. And you know what's coming back? Not love, not excitement. Just this vague sense of obligation, of doing what was expected. Maya stayed quiet, letting him talk. My family wanted the marriage. Her family wanted it. It made sense on paper. But I don't think either of us really wanted it. I can't remember clearly, but I have this feeling that something was always off between us. Like we were both playing parts in a story someone else wrote. He looked directly at Maya. You were put in an impossible situation. Your sister abandoned her responsibilities. Your father was dying. Your family was drowning. And somehow you became the solution to everyone's problems except your own. Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. She'd expected anger and judgment. This understanding felt almost harder to bear. But here's what I can't figure out, Rashid continued. Where do we go from here? We're legally married. We're strangers who got tied together by accident and desperation. What do we do with that? Maya wiped her eyes. I can talk to a lawyer. We can get an annulment or a divorce. Whatever you want. I never meant to trap you in this. I know you didn't, that's why I'm not sure divorce is what I want. Maya stared at him. What? Rashid leaned back in his chair. These past few weeks, even though I was confused, even though something felt off, there were moments that felt right. You visiting me in the hospital? The way you listened when I talked about the gaps in my memory, how you were patient and kind even though you were carrying this huge secret, that doesn't make up for the lie. No, it doesn't. But it tells me something about who you are. You're not cruel. You're not manipulative. You're just someone who got caught in a bad situation and made a desperate choice to save the people you love. He paused, choosing his words carefully. My engagement to Aisha was about duty and expectation. We were trying to live up to what our families wanted, but maybe this, as crazy as it started, could be different. Maybe we could actually choose this. Choose each other. Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. You want to stay married? After everything? I want to try, Rashid said carefully. Not because we have to, not because of family pressure or legal documents, but because I think maybe we could actually build something real. Something honest. We'd be starting from zero, yes, but at least we'd be starting with the truth. That's insane, Maya whispered. Probably, Rashid agreed with a small smile. But this whole situation is insane. We can either let it destroy us or we can try to make something good out of it. Maya didn't know what to say. She'd spent weeks carrying guilt and dread, certain that everything would end in disaster. She'd never imagined this possibility. I need time, she finally said, to think about this, to figure out what I actually want, not just what everyone else needs. Fair enough. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. They finished their coffee and talked about smaller things, his recovery, her students, the weather. It felt strange and normal at the same time. Like they were two people on a first date getting to know each other, except they were already married. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. Maya and Rashid started actually spending time together. Not as a married couple exactly, more like two people trying to figure out if they could be friends. Rashid took her to his favorite bookstore. Maya was surprised to discover he loved mystery novels, the same genre she'd been reading since childhood. They spent an hour talking about their favorite authors, arguing playfully about plot twists and character development. Maya invited him to watch one of her school plays. Her students were performing a story they'd written themselves, and she was so proud of them. Rashid sat in the audience, and afterward he told her that watching her with the kids made him understand why she loved teaching. They met for walks in the park. They tried different restaurants. They talked about their dreams, their fears, their completely different childhoods. Rashid told her about the pressure of being the only son in a business family. Maya told him about always feeling invisible next to Aisha's brightness. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments, still layers of complication from how everything started, but slowly, carefully, they were building something that hadn't existed before, something that was actually theirs. Then, 2 months after the truth came out, Aisha called Maya again. I heard Rashid found out, Aisha said without preamble. I figured you'd be divorced by now. We're not, Maya said simply. Silence. Then, what do you mean you're not? We're working things out. Trying to make this marriage actually work. Aisha laughed, but it sounded forced. You're really going to stay married to him? To my leftover fiancé? Maya felt something shift inside her. Something that had been bent under Aisha's shadow her whole life finally straightening up. He's not your leftover anything. You gave him up. You walked away. And honestly, Aisha, I think we both got lucky. He's kind and thoughtful and nothing like the obligation you saw him as. Maya, no, let me finish. I spent my whole life in your shadow, being the quiet one, the simple one, the one who just accepted whatever life handed her. But this mess that you created and abandoned, it taught me something. I'm stronger than I thought, and I'm capable of choosing my own path, even if it's a weird and complicated one. I was calling to apologize, Aisha said quietly. I don't need your apology. I need you to let go. Let go of the guilt. Let go of Rashid. Let go of the idea that you get to define how this story ends. You wrote yourself out of it. The rest is up to me and him. After hanging up, Maya felt lighter than she had in months. 6 months after the wedding that shouldn't have happened, Maya and Rashid had what they called their real wedding, not a big celebration with hundreds of guests. Just a small gathering of close family and friends, people who knew the whole messy truth and supported them anyway. Maya's father, recovered and healthy, walked her down the aisle. This time she wore a dress she'd chosen herself. This time Rashid was awake and smiling. This time when they said their vows, they meant every word. I choose you, Rashid said, holding her hands. Not because I have to. Not because of family or duty or legal documents. I choose you because of who you are. Your kindness, your strength, your terrible taste in mystery novels. Maya laughed through her tears. I choose you too. Even though you think you're right about the endings. I am right about the endings, you're really not, people laughed. It was a private joke. One of dozens they'd collected over the months of actually getting to know each other. That night, Maya lay next to Rashid in their apartment, the one they'd finally moved into together just last week. Can I ask you something? Always, he said. Do you ever wish things had happened differently? That we'd met normally, dated normally, gotten married like regular people? Rashid was quiet for a moment. Sometimes. But then I think about how we might never have really seen each other if things were normal. Aisha and I would have gotten married out of obligation and probably been miserable. You would have stayed in her shadow. Neither of us would have had to fight for this, and that fighting made it more real. That fighting made it ours. Not our families, not society's, not anyone else's, just ours. Maya smiled in the darkness. She thought about that terrified girl who'd agreed to marry a stranger to save her family. She thought about the weeks of lies and fear and guilt. She thought about how certain she'd been that everything would fall apart. Life was funny that way. Sometimes the worst decisions led to the best outcomes. Sometimes the most broken beginnings created the strongest foundations. Sometimes you had to lose yourself completely to find out who you really were. Her phone buzzed with a text, one of her students' mothers thanking her for helping with homework. Her father sending a goodnight message. Her brother sharing a funny meme. And nothing from Aisha. Maybe there never would be again. And somehow Maya was okay with that. She'd spent her whole life being Aisha's little sister. Now she was just Maya, Rashid's wife, a teacher, a woman who'd made impossible choices and somehow ended up exactly where she was supposed to be. What are you thinking about? Rashid asked sleepily. Happy endings, Maya said, and how they never look like you expect them to. Is this a happy ending? Maya thought about it. About everything they'd been through, everything they'd built despite the odds. I think it's a happy beginning. And in the quiet of their small apartment, with their complicated past behind them and an uncertain but hopeful future ahead, that was more than enough.